what I want to talk about is the process that I use to create these vehicles. And of course, there's the initial idea, and then the drawing comes, which is this is the original sketch. And then from that, to get the actual vehicle, I have to scale it. The scale comes about, and it's pretty easy to base it on, and that is the wheels and tires on a vehicle are somewhere between anywhere from 26 to 32 inches. In this case, the wheels that I'm using are 28 inches. So in this drawing, you just take whatever that measurement is and how many times you got to duplicate it to get the 28 inches. And then that gives you your scale, which in this case is 13:1. And so I just use that, and then I scale it with all the numbers to start out. And once I get that scale and those measurements, then I've got a base for the car. And what I do is I take and paint the base on the floor. So that's my pattern. And so then I can set up my wheels and tires, my axles, and jig it up and get it, on stands, and then I can make the frame rails. And then from that point, once you get the frame rails in a kind of a rolling chassis, everything will fall into place because it's just a way to do everything on a car that it's no mystery. And as you're going along building a car, you'll think of things and you add it, and then you mark it off. And this is really important for building a car. Stay in line, keep track. Okay, here we are with a new build. It's been a long time coming since the bus. This vehicle is going to be what we call a drag and drive. It was instigated by my son. We're going to do a father-son thing. Anyhow, it's unusual, hard to engineer, and you got to pay attention because you got to drive it down the highway as well as race it at the track. So like a dual purpose. So you've got to have, in this case, I put 2 fuel tanks. So I can have road fuel and race fuel, run them both at the same time, but I'll be able to valve it whatever I want to do. I've got a major overdrive in the car. It, from Gear Vendors, it changes my 350 rear end ratio to about I was told a 217, so I have pretty good road gear, as opposed to trying to drive it with the 350s. The systems are a bit different because I obviously have the roll cage. The chassis is built a little stouter. I've got pretty much performance rear end, 9-inch from, I forget the name of the company, but it's a stout 9-inch with a Eaton limited slip. And then I got all-wheel disc brakes, and when it's finished, it'll have pretty cushy seats for these long trips because sometimes it's 400 miles between the tracks. So this lasts for a week. I think you guys are aware of it. And you hit 4 or 5, maybe 6, 7 tracks, depending on the event you go for. So the driving time is essential, and the hardest part, I think, it seems like. These guys drop out because they don't have air conditioning. And that's another thing I added to it, is air conditioning. But the way I run the air conditioner compressor is I run it off the drive line, and it only puts out whenever I'm going down the road. And then I can, through an over-center lever system, I can release the compressor, take the belt off for when you're drag racing. So that kind of helped me there because I didn't have a lot of room up on the engine to put the compressor and be efficient. And also, I wanted to incorporate this as being a milk truck, my idea. The features of the milk truck, one of the features is a bifold doors, which has been a little bit of a task to achieve, but I have achieved the system, and they're functioning. And actually, we're on the side where I'm getting ready to install the other one. which I'm working on now. When the seats are in here, you'll see why the air conditioner is standing up on end. It's right between the seats. That became a good place for it because the dash is going to be full of instruments. And this one feature here, I have a panel. Well, this is a button here that unlocks it. The panel drops down, and that's where I'll have all of the control units fastened. And you can work on them easily if need be. And then you just snap it back up. I'm going to have one of those on that side as well for the fuse panel. This is more of the electronics for the engine. Oh, gosh, I can't remember all the equipment that we have to have, but I had it all setting in there to make sure it fits.
So this computer program having the Holley EA system, that's the first one you've ever done in any of your builds, right?
Right. It's all new for me. My son is more in tune with that, so I'm hoping I know he's going to have to program it all out. That's kind of why it's setting off to this side. He'll be sitting here.
Gotcha.
And push the buttons while I'm steering it. The other features are, of course, the door, bifold door. The adjustments. On this one, you can see the trans and oil cooler, which I'm thinking that I'll run the car when we're going down the highway with that open and the windows open on the car so that you can get some air through there to cool the oil and the trans and the engine. It's real important for the transmission oil to be cooled because the transmission design is such that you don't want to go down the road too much because the pressures are designed for racing and they're not really the best for the road trip. So the cooler you can keep the fluid, the better off you are. And then there's more access back here to my adjustments and the valves for the fuel tanks. So I'll have 3 valves in here where I can turn on one tank or other tank or combine them or change them. And then also I can reach the adjustment for my sway control bar for launching. We got to get that adjusted because that's kind of important. You can reach it from here or you can reach it from in here and adjust that. And then, of course, we have the actual fill for the tanks in here.
So one will be for regular and the other for race fuel?
Yeah, and then we might have to run them both with regular fuel if we got a long ways to travel. We can switch off. At the tracks, usually there's someone there that sells the race fuel. Typically they do.
So obviously we don't have the body, or you don't have the body panels on right now, but how will you access the fuel when everything's done?
Yeah, when this is all finished out, I've got a door here that'll open for the rear. And the way I'll make this is I'll have a seam going right down the center, and it'll look like double doors.
Like on the old ones, the proper milk trucks.
Yeah, but it'll just mimic the double doors, but it actually just opens like this, which is much more practical, and it creates shade.
Yeah.
This one's unique or a challenge. The original milk trucks of this style and you can see it in this. They were a flat-sided vehicle. Not too hard to create double doors or bifold doors. But my vehicle has shape this way and this way. So I'm dealing with a lot of angles or curves. And so to get this to open and close properly, it ended up being a bit of a challenge to get the track and the hinges in order so that they hinge together and go all like that. Yeah, this will be one of the standout features of the car. Then I got, let's see. the exhaust system on it. This will be my open flow exhaust, and there's a electric valve down in here that can open and close with a push of a button, and it'll close it off and then run it back through a muffler system for going down the road. And that was a bit of a challenge too because of the frame and the motor, and I had to extend the exhaust out to get it out there where it belongs, or where I wanted it, through the fender. And the whole front end is hinged. The hinges are in here, but I haven't finished fabricating, so this will be cut and be part of the hood over to the other fender, and it'll be one piece that'll tilt up. So you can walk right up to the engine and work on it. Real easy to work on. Reach everything, but the hinge is kind of unique the way I made it. It's a pipe inside of a pipe, but the inside pipe is actually a flat bar. And when you open the hood this way, the flat bar can come out that slot so you can take the whole front end off.
Oh, okay.
But then when you slide it in and shut it, you can't, it won't go anywhere.
That's genius.
And
what's the drivetrain?
Drivetrain is a 351 Windsor Ford. Got a C4. Oh gosh, I can't remember the company that made that. But it's got the trans brake. It's designed to handle around 1,400 horsepower, which we don't have. We're going to work on that. We're running around 600 horsepower right now. And I think that'll be adequate because we want to have fun. We don't want to be working on it the whole time. That's kind of as far as I've gotten. I'm profiling it out for the body shape. And you can kind of get an idea if you stand back and squint real big. But the body panels are coming as soon as I get that other bifold door finished up, which I'm working on right now. Here's a flip. This is one panel. And I got to build another panel and then hinge them together and latch it and track it. And then I can start putting the panels on. Now, right here, this will be the first panel I build. And it goes from this line to this line, and that's going to have a window in it. It'll match, the bottom will match the window frames on the doors. It'll be a triangle. And this one's going to be powered. I'll have a, power window unit sitting down in here. And so this will be an opening window for ventilation. And that's actually the only window I have. The two. And then from that point, I can start sheeting the doors. And then I'll start back here. I need to profile this out. The body of the side panel end up in front of this line, this weld line. That'll be inside the body wall. And then you can really get a feel for what it's going to look like. So it's on its way. I'm hoping to have it done. Looking for September, but let's see what happens.
When did you start this build?
I'm trying to think back when we started. It's been, oh gosh, it's been at least 5 months ago. I would say 5 months. And you'll be able to see more of the start of the car when we print the photos.
Yeah.
And that'll give you a better idea of how it started out and the step-by-step process. But, it's getting fun now.
All right, so what do we got here?
So now these are the creature comforts. Armrest. Right there. Throttle. I didn't mention, I put a right angle master cylinder unit, so the master cylinder is inside under the dash.
There we go.
It's on a lever system. But this ought to be pretty easy to go down the road.
Yeah. Turn a little bit for getting out too. That looks way too comfortable.
It should be pretty easy.
And they're pretty lightweight.
Yeah. And if they're gamer seats, so you can game too.
Why did you choose a delivery van for the drag truck?
So part of my design, or my overall design, has to do with animation, which I call subtle animation. And I wanted to build something that would be obviously different. I've seen a lot of these Divco trucks being customized, and they're very cool. So I thought, well, I'll do my version of the Divco truck and turn it into what I'm going to do as the drag and drive. My designs are come about through paying attention to the little features about the vehicle that you unknowingly recognize. And it's the same with when I build the bus and build the Woody and customize cars. I always keep the features that people recognize. So in the bus or the Woody, no, the milk truck, it has certain features to it. It has the bifold doors. It has multiple windows in the cab area, but it's a panel. And it has a pair of raised ribs on the side that follow all the way front to back. The nose is an unusual shape. It's almost pug-like on the nose. And I just took all those features. Obviously, the fenders are part of the feature, and I combined them in my way. So it has an animated look, but it's practical. It'll go down the road. It'll race. So it's a little bit hard to describe my designs, but it's a lot of it's just by eye. I look at it and I think, oh, okay, that needs to be changed. It is flow. And then to maintain the cartoon look as opposed to the actual truck or vehicle. So anyhow, the Moo Juice is going to be, I think, a pretty good feature car as well as a cool race car. So in closing, there'll be more videos as I progress, so stay tuned.